Bryan Berard has a book out, and it's co-written by our good friend Jim Lang. It's called Relentless. Bryan's 619 games in the National Hockey League from Woonsocket, Rhode Island. And any hockey fan knows Bryan's story. Lost an eye and came back and played for a significant time. And now he's telling his story in his book. How you doing, Bryan? Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So how did the idea of this book come about, by the way, Relentless? I can't wait to read it.
To be honest, when Ty Domi obviously came out with a book, and I read his book, and obviously did it with Jim Lang, who I wrote mine with, and just kind of talked to Ty a little bit. He gave me an introduction to Kevin Hansen and Simon & Schuster. I met Jim, and then off we went. It was a great project. It honestly was probably in the works for about 3 years, but me and Jim, once we kind of sat down and took about 8 months to do.
Is there a theme to it, or if you could boil it down to a sentence or two, how would you encapsulate this book? What's the message?
Well, to be honest, it's not just a hockey book. I've dealt with some other things off the ice, as far as injuries, and then unfortunately with the financial crime and dealing with a bad financial advisor that I met at a young age. And to be honest, I had probably about 23 NHL guys as well. Dealt with this guy. He's in jail now for about 6 years. So it talks a little bit about the financial fraud. Talks about the insurance fraud. So I really just wanted to get my story out there. I wasn't embarrassed about it. That in hindsight, I made some bad decisions and kind of learned from, life lessons. But I just wanted to get my story out there, and hopefully that can prevent other young players from it happening to them.
Good for you.
Hey, Bryan, it's Darren DuPont. There's a theme that fits with you, I think, when we're talking about football, because we're getting ready for the CFL's division finals. Zach Collaros, a guy who's having success now, but he went through a number of head injuries, and everybody's saying he should stop playing and he shouldn't play, and you got to take care of your health, but he just wants to play. Did you go through some of that similar stuff with the eye injury, and what was that like from the player's perspective, if you can kind of take us into his mind a little bit?
Yeah, I can understand. For me, I knew right away that it was a freak accident. Obviously, it happened in Ottawa, caught the high stick from Marian Hossa, but I knew I was in trouble right away, to be honest. I lost the vision basically instantly. So right then, honestly, I thought my career was pretty much done. I thought I was going to probably lose the eye at 23 years old. So I was shaken up quite a bit. And to be honest with you, at first thought my career was done. I just wanted to get healthy, try to get as much vision back in my right eye as possible. So it was a long road back. And then as the body does some amazing things as well. So once I started feeling a little healthier, the vision wasn't getting any better, but the body I was getting my back in shape, doing some athletic things, whether throwing a football around or trying to hit a tennis ball. Obviously I don't have depth perception, but so it just kind of really just try to get my body back in shape a little bit. And then I started skating, and I thought there could be a chance that I could get back and play at that high level. And I wanted to I thought I was done, but I wanted to kind of challenge myself, and also everyone else said I was done. So I wanted to kind of prove people wrong.
When you came back, what was the reaction like? And not just from the hockey world, from society. What was the reaction?
It's a good question. I still everyone Brian Leach kind of said it the best. Guys would kind of skate around and kind of block one eye, and guys would come up to me like, "How are you playing with just one eye?" And I think it was just determination, and really the body does some amazing things. And I was able to adapt to it. I definitely wasn't once the player I was, but I felt that I could still come back and play at a high level in the NHL.
Well, you at 80% are better than a lot of guys at 100. Obviously, you're an outstanding hockey player too. When you look back at your career, take the eye injury aside, what are you most proud of? Because there's a lot of accolades there too.
It is. For me, probably just a comeback, to be honest with you, to be able to play with one eye. But, again, I was 23 years old, so hockey's all I knew. So for me to kind of fight back from that, I kind of look at it as two separate careers. Obviously, I came in at a young age at 19. I wanted to play at 18 in Ottawa and with Ottawa, and kind of went through that a little bit, the contract dispute. And I think I kind of got a bad rap as maybe a spoiled American, but that wasn't true at all, because when I kind of hit the lottery when Milbury traded me to Toronto. We talk about that in the book as well. Closed down Maple Leafs Gardens, opened up Air Canada Center. That year we had a pretty good team. Got to play with Matt Sundin. I've got to play with Mark Messier, Leach. So I got to play some really good players. So I just look back, and again, I look at kind of two separate careers, but I wouldn't take it back from the world.
Bryan Marshall here. I got a question that's sort of more medical and more physiological, and I'm going to use Helen Keller as an example as I get into my question. Helen Keller had so many obstacles thrown her way from a medical perspective, but she overcame them. And I'm just wondering, in losing the eyesight in one eye or partial eyesight in one eye, have you noticed your body compensate by your other senses growing?
Absolutely. My hearing, for one, I felt that grew. I always, on the ice, I thought vision was probably one of my best parts of my game, obviously with skating as well. So I always thought I saw the ice well and could see plays develop maybe before some other players could. But that, I don't think that really affected me with losing the vision in the right eye. I still thought I saw the ice pretty well. For me, it was just adapting to, it was more in the defensive zone or when players would dump the puck in on me and I had two guys that would kind of jump on me. That's when I kind of got a little, it was more of kind of a feeling, and I could feel the one guy and then the second guy would kind of surprise me. So that's where kind of my game was affected, in the defensive zone. Because I started, once I started to get healthy and got a couple of years under my belt, I started to put some pretty good offensive numbers back up, when I was with the Chicago Blackhawks and then Columbus, and unfortunately had the back injury as well. But I felt that your body, like I said, keeps talking. My feeling, the hearing and everything definitely improved.
I'll tell you what, Bryan, just lastly, before I do the sales pitch for the book, and I've already seen it on shelves, so I know it's available out there, but what did you enjoy the most about putting this book together?
Just to go back through a lot of the old stories. I mean, there's even with the eye injury. I mean, everyone asks, is it tough for you to talk about? It's not. I mean, again, it was part of my career. Unfortunately, it happened. I guess the laughs and to meet Jim Lang was the first time I met him, to work with him. Again, I thank Ty Domi for kind of hooking everything up. But just the memories of playing in the NHL and what every kid dreams about. And I was lucky enough to have that as a career. And I look back and it was lucky too. I played in some great cities: Boston, Chicago, New York Rangers with the Islanders as well. And then obviously Toronto. So I look back and it was a lot of fun.
Bryan, thanks so much for this. I appreciate it. For you, huge fans of you here. Any hockey fan, I think, is of you. But if anybody that's not a hockey fan but wants a good story, pick up the book Relentless. It's available in all bookstores now, obviously Chapters, Indigo, Barnes & Noble, and so forth. So thank you, sir, and I appreciate the time today.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. You guys have a good day.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.